Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a little modification video on my 07 Xterra back here. Going to be doing this, the Gorilla Offroad rear axle differential grading kit. I've had this vehicle for just over 3 years now, July 2019 I got it, and I've yet to do this kit. I've yet to do this mod altogether, and honestly it's probably best to do this first thing, so don't make that mistake. If you get an Xterra or a Frontier from 05 to 2015 or however further the Frontier went of that gen, get this mod and do it right away. Take a quick look at what I ordered here from Gorilla Offroad. Basically, it's an extension of the diff breather that you have on your rear axle. The stock one that these Nissans come with is just a tiny little nub right on the axle, so that easily gets filled with water and mud. That way your axles and your axle seals can't breathe, and if that totally gets clogged, you can blow your rear axle, which would be very expensive to either replace or you just part out your vehicle at that time. It's a write-off, sell it, get rid of it. So trying to avoid that as much as possible. And this basically just gives a little extension, put a hose through so it's not right on the rear axle, extends, and you put it, I'm going to put it behind the tail light, and then this is your little air filter that goes on the end, so it breathes out the tail light opposed to right down on the axle where it easily goes through water, mud constantly, especially where I live, Vancouver Island. Like, it rains in the winter, any puddle can potentially clog it, so just wanted to get this done right away. Here we have everything that you're going to need to complete this mod on your Nissan. Like I stated, I got the Gorilla Offroad kit. It's about a $30–40 kit, and it comes with, you have your stainless steel barb fitting, which screws into where the stock vent currently is in the axle, as well as a few hose clamps to clamp the hose onto the barb fitting, as well as other parts of the vehicle. You have the hose, which it's about, I think, 7-foot extension hose. Then you have your air filter. That's what's going to connect onto the other end of the hose and attach behind the tail light on the Nissan Xterra. And then of course a few zip ties to tie off the hose in different places. And then you're going to need a ratchet set, most specifically your 13 and 14 millimeter long extensions to get onto the stock filter, as well as over top of the barb fitting to screw that on. As you can see, this is your stock vent right on the axle up here, this tiny little nub. So you're going to take your 14 millimeter, just wedge right on there, then just break that off. Comes off maybe too easy. The Loctite that was originally on this is probably long gone. One thing I forgot to mention that you'll want is some type of brush to clean off the excess mud, dirt, whatever residue that might be around there right now before you take it off, so nothing happens to leak in. Gorgeous. And then just easily comes off just like that. I'm gonna leave it partially in as right now though until I have the extension ready to go in, and then just because I don't want anything to happen to fall in there, so I'll just leave it like that for now and start the extension part. So to remove the tail light, just takes 2 bolts here, which are both 10mm, and then there's a few clamps along the side here, plastic clamps that you just need to either wedge a screwdriver or something, some hard plastic back there, and just kind of pop it out. It's very easy to do. I'm ghetto, so I'm literally using a plastic ruler to pop them out. Then next, once you pop it out, you just want to undo your actual headlights, just so you're not hanging out forever. Just have those hang there, take that off. So the plan is to take the filter and the hose, they'll be connected, and they'll be like zap trapped up about here at the base of the wires here, and the other end of the hose, let's push down there, and we'll see what comes after that. So the filter here doesn't specify which end is to be exposed and which end is to connect to the hose. So I don't think it matters too much. But anyways, so you pretty much just connect that on. I've already put one of the hose clamps on. Pull the hose up there, take a flathead screwdriver, screw that on nice and tight so it holds in place. There you go. So once you got the filter on there, you're going to zip tie it up to the wiring here, and then start feeding the hose down below. See what happens. Once you've got the hose pulled down all the way, your first best spot to feed it through is in the frame up top here, this little hole, perfect size. Wrap around the back, feed it through, so let's go ahead and do that. Where you feed the hose next is totally up to your own discretion. I've taken it and looped it around this cross beam on the frame. You want to give it enough space, enough feet and enough length that when your vehicle's flexed, if you take your Xterra Frontier off-road, when you flex on some off-roading, that it has some pull, so it's not going to be too tight, but you also don't want to have it too loose. That's going to get in the way of other wires or your brake lines or anything like that. So I'm just going to keep it around this beam probably. I'll put a zip tie there, and then I might find somewhere else to put it. I don't know if I put it through that hole or anything, or I'll just connect it right on top of the filter right here. So for me, I decided once I fed the hose down from the tail light, I left some slack by the tail light so it doesn't pull on the wires too much back there. And then I fed it through once through the frame there, and then up through the top part of this bracket that holds the spare tire, and then follow along and loops over top the frame crossbar here, and then it's gonna go right in top there. It has now started raining outside, so I apologize if the sound quality is not the best, but time to take the original one off and make sure the new one's all clean. I read multiple different blog posts
about these kits, and some say that you use Loctite on these barbed threads, but others say that you don't need to because it is threaded, so naturally it tightens itself. And once you start getting that in, just with your hands, as tight as you can go, take your 13 mil. It's 14 to remove the stock one, 13 for the new one, long extension, and just start cranking that down. There's very limited instructions, as you can tell, on these kits. This one, there's not even specs for torquing this, so you're just kind of
do what you want with it, you know? Get as tight as possible, so it's tight in there.
on there about as good as it's gonna be. Anything's better than the stock one. Then next you're gonna be connecting your hose. Before you do that, you want to put one of the hose clamps on beforehand, tighten it on there, and then just wedge it on. You go ahead and loosen your hose clamp and close it down on top of the stem. Once that's nice and tight, pretty much good to go. To finish off, just gonna zip tie off the portion of the hose that goes around the frame here, and then once that's done, pretty much be done for underneath the vehicle. You gotta use two out of the zip ties the kit gives you. You gotta use two because they are not long enough to fit over here. Easy peasy. So that's how it's currently sitting. Just obviously still got to put the taillight back on. One thing I do want to add though is I'll obviously put the Gorilla off-road kit down in the description. I'll link to it in the description, but they have two options compared to other kits I looked at. They had this filter, which I obviously chose, which is stainless, and the actual filter part inside, you're able to take that out and clean it, and the other one that they come with is the whole kit, of course, is cheaper, but it's a plastic one, and it is disposable. So if the filter happens to get clogged or just stops working, you dispose of it and get a new one. This one, you clean it out and you keep using it. From here, pretty self-explanatory, but put your bulbs back in, try to keep it to the side. And then get it hooked in, get the bolts in, you're done. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Very simple modification to do to your vehicle. Simple, cheap, quick, easy, everything you want. And it can save you lots of money, time, stress in the future. Like this is your stock filter that comes on top of the axle. So that's your little bit of air filter right in there. And that sits, what, less than 2 feet off the ground. So if you're off-roading, you're going through mud, puddles, snow this time of year, good chance that's going to get clogged up or just blocked for a couple times a second, which can obviously be troublesome. So the main issue here is the purpose of this vent is normal driving, the air inside your axle heats up, and then that air expands and it needs to be vented somewhere. This is what it's supposed to vent out of. So if this happens to be blocked at a time, like you're going through water, obviously it's going to be blocked.
there's nowhere for it to vent, so the air keeps expanding and needs to vent somewhere, so it takes out one of the seals, and then you pop a seal, an axle seal, and then that's one. You can keep going down the line. Or if this gets completely clogged and it's never venting, then as you're continuously going to be heating up and applying pressure inside your axle, and then you're going to pop all your seals and potentially just blow your axle altogether, and your vehicle's done. So, like I said, simple modification that takes no more than 30 minutes. Took me a while because I was setting up cameras, blah blah blah, doing all that, but very quick, very easy, beginner mod to do, and highly recommend doing it. Link down in the description for the Gorilla off-road kit, and if you like this, follow me, like, subscribe, all that stuff, because maybe I'll do more videos like this with other stuff I do to this vehicle in the future. So yeah, thanks guys, go get the kit.